Ever feel like AI is moving so fast you need a roadmap just to keep up?
It's a lot, right?
Well, today we're buckling up for a deep dive into OpenAI's October platform upgrades. So whether you're building the next AI, well, anything, or just want to follow along, we're your guides.
And believe me, these are some seriously powerful tools that are making more accessible than ever before, which is huge.
Exactly, and that's what we're going to unpack. What does it all actually mean? Like OpenAI dropped a ton of new features, but this whole function calling thing is what everyone's talking about.
Yeah, function calling, it's kind of a mouthful.
Mm.
It's like, imagine you can give your AI a whole toolbox.
Hmm.
That's it in a nutshell.
Okay, so can you give us an example?
Sure, sure. Let's say you're asking your AI assistant about, like, an order, right? When's my new microphone getting here?
Right.
With function calling, it can connect to, I don't know, a delivery database or whatever, and actually tell you the date.
Whoa, so it's not just giving generic answers anymore. It can like actually do stuff. That's a
Mm,
big deal. But how does it know which tool to even use? We don't need AIs ordering pizza every time someone mentions dinner.
That's a great question, and that's where it gets really cool. The AI isn't actually doing the functions itself. It's more like an assistant,
Hmm.
you know, analyzes what you're asking, then suggests the right tool. It's up to the developers to actually set up those connections, though.
So you give the AI a toolbox and tell it how to use each tool, basically.
Exactly. It's incredibly powerful because it means you can build AI assistants for specific jobs, anything really, any industry.
This is already bending my brain. So we've got the AI, a toolbox, but what about teaching it some new tricks? That's where fine-tuning comes in, right?
You got it. Fine-tuning is like taking a general AI and sending it to, like, AI boot camp.
Yeah.
We train it on specific data to become an expert in one area.
Gotcha. And one of the big things they announced was vision fine-tuning, which, if I'm understanding this right, means we can teach AI to actually see.
Yeah, this is huge. AI is not just about understanding text anymore. It's processing, like visual information, images, the whole deal.
So, like, someday our AI can watch those cat videos with us.
Well, maybe not that, but you're getting the idea. This has so many applications. Better visual search engines, self-driving cars that can actually understand their environment, even medical imaging that can see things humans can't.
Okay, now we're talking. They mentioned a company, Grab, using this, right, for their self-driving cars.
Yeah, Grab, the ride-hailing company, they used vision fine-tuning and made their lane detection way more accurate, like 20% better. That's a big deal for safety. And it's just one example. We're really just getting started with what this can do.
This is all super exciting, but like any powerful tech, gotta talk about the ethics or...
Absolutely, can't
Sure.
ignore that. When we're talking about teaching AI to see the world, the data we use to train it matters. Bias is a real concern.
So it's not just about what AI can do, but how we use it responsibly. Which leads us to OpenAI's rival, Anthropic. They're trying to be the ethical AI company, right?
Right. And they just announced this new thing called prompt caching. Might seem like a small technical thing, but it could be a big deal.
All right, break it down for us. What is prompt caching and why should we care? All right, break it down for us. What is prompt caching and why should we care?
So every time you talk to an AI, you're basically having a conversation, right? And like any good conversation, there's some setup involved. You got to give it some context, some background, get it on the same page as you.
Right, right.
In AI terms, that's the prompt.
Okay, so the prompt is like setting the stage for the AI to do its thing.
Yeah, exactly. And these prompts can get long, especially for the complicated stuff. Now imagine having to set that up every single time you want to use the AI. It's a lot of processing power, and it costs developers money.
Makes sense. So prompt caching, how's that help?
It's pretty simple. Instead of starting from scratch every single time, you save those commonly used prompts, and you can reuse them at a discount, like way cheaper.
So it's faster, cheaper for developers, everyone wins. This is huge for smaller companies. People working on their own projects, they don't have unlimited budgets.
Totally levels the playing field. More people can experiment, build their own AI tools. It's pretty cool. And the interesting thing is, OpenAI, they just came out with something similar.
Competition is a beautiful thing, right?
Yeah.
Spurring innovation and all that. But this whole conversation about AI development access, it kind of brings up a bigger question, doesn't it? How are these AI models even learning in the first place? What about the ethics of all this?
That's right. We've talked about the good stuff, all the potential, but we can't just ignore the downsides. One of the big ethical concerns right now is this thing called web scraping.
Okay, so for those of us who don't speak fluent AI, what exactly is web scraping?
Imagine, like, a giant vacuum cleaner, right? But instead of dust bunnies, it's sucking up all the information on the internet. That's web scraping, basically. Text, code, images, everything.
And that's how AI is learning, by devouring the entire internet.
Pretty much. And it's definitely raising some eyebrows. See, the internet, it's built on this idea of sharing, right? But when you have companies taking data on a massive scale, no permission, no credit given, starts to feel a little, well, wrong.
Yeah, like who owns that data? Who gets to decide how it's used? Didn't iFixit have a whole thing about this with Anthropic?
They did. iFixit, they're great. Free repair manuals, everything from phones to tractors, super helpful. But they found out Anthropic's web crawlers were scraping their content, which they specifically forbid, especially for AI training.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty clear no then. So what happened? Did Anthropic back down?
It's complicated. Anthropic's argument was their web crawlers, they work just like Google's, which iFixit doesn't block, and that they're just trying to like index and understand the internet, not steal content.
So basically, it's all fair game because it's public. I can see both sides, I gotta admit.
For sure, it's a gray area. And it shows this tension that's building. We need massive data to train these powerful AIs, but what about the people who created that content? What about their rights? It's not just iFixit either. Other sites are pushing back too.
So where do we even go from here? Is there a solution?
$1 million question, right? There's no easy answer, but these conversations are important. We got to find a balance because AI is not going anywhere. It's about being ethical, respecting creators while still pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
This is why I love these deep dives. It's not just the tech, it's the bigger picture, you know? How it affects us, the users, the creators, everyone.
Absolutely. AI is getting more advanced, more intertwined with our lives every day. These ethical questions, they're only going to get more complicated, more important to talk about.
So knowing all this, where do we go from here? What's the future hold as AI develops, learns, maybe even starts creating on its own?
Now that is where things get really interesting. Even a little philosophical, you could say.
Bring on the philosophy. Bring on the philosophy.
Well, AI used to be this thing, right? Science fiction, HAL 9000, the Terminator, all that. But now it's real. AI is writing code, making art, even music. It's wild.
It's like we're living in a movie, but we're not just watching it anymore, we're part of it.
Exactly. And that's, well, it's exciting, but also a little, intense. We've talked about the good stuff, the efficiency, the personalized experiences, the medical breakthroughs, all that. But then there's this other side, this worry about what it means to live with machines that learn, adapt, create, all the things we're still figuring out ourselves.
Like, are we writing the future or just characters in a story that's already written?
I love that question because it gets to the heart of it all. We think about AI as this either-or thing. It'll save us or destroy us. But it's way more complicated than that.
So no robot uprising then?
Probably not, but seriously, the future of AI, it's not about some far-off dystopia or utopia. It's about the choices we make right now, today. We got to demand transparency from the companies building this stuff, talk about the ethics, really dig in. And most importantly, remember, AI is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad.
It's about responsibility, isn't it? The creators, the users, all of us.
Exactly. We can't just sit back and watch. We have to be informed, engaged, ask the tough questions. Because AI's future isn't set in stone. It's something we're making together right now.
That's such a great point. A real call to action. AI's here. It's time to get to know it, figure out how to work with it, maybe even teach it a thing or two about what it means to be human.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah. And on that note, that's a wrap on our deep dive into the wild world of AI. Thanks for going down the rabbit hole with us. Links to all the stuff we talked about are in the show notes. And hey, if you learned something new today, why not share it with a friend? The more we know, the better prepared we are for this crazy future with AI. Until next time, stay curious, everyone.